Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still covering President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's current visit to Paris. President Sisi held summit talks with French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris on Monday, and the talks covered regional and international issues of mutual concern, as well as means of boosting bilateral relations. The two leaders also discussed the latest developments in the Palestinian territories and the latest escalation of aggression by the Israeli occupation forces. The talks also covered funding development projects in Africa, as well as efforts to combat terrorism. After the talks, the presidential spokesman, Ambassador Bassem Radi, said that President Macron welcomed President el-Sisi's visit and renewed commitment to boost bilateral cooperation in all fields. Macron hailed the steps taken by Egypt on the path of development and the ongoing implementation of mega-national projects. The French president vowed to continue to support Egypt's developmental efforts. And now with our special reports, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrived in France on Sunday to take part in the Paris conference to support Sudanese transition and also a summit on financing African economies, which are going to be held on the 17th and 18th of May, respectively. More details in this report.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrived in France on Sunday to take part in the Paris conference to support Sudanese transition and also a summit on financing African economies, which are going to be held on the 17th and 18th of May, respectively. French President Emmanuel Macron's invitation to el-Sisi to take part comes in light of the close and growing relations between Egypt and France, as well as Egypt's vital role in supporting transitional phase in the brotherly Sudan at the regional and international levels. Presidential spokesperson Bassem Radi said in a statement that it also comes due to the leverage Egypt enjoys at the level of the African continent, which contributes to strengthening international initiatives aimed at supporting African countries. President el-Sisi plans to highlight the need that the international community joins forces to support Sudan during the important historical stage it is going through, and to shed light on the ongoing Egyptian efforts in this regard at various economic, political, and security levels. During his visit, President el-Sisi holds talks with Macron to discuss bilateral relations that are witnessing a leap in recent years, in addition to continuing consultations and mutual coordination on a number of regional and international issues of common interest. He is also scheduled to meet French officials as well as heads of some international French companies to discuss means of boosting cooperation in economic, trade, and investment fields between the two sides. The President will also meet a number of heads of state and government to discuss advancing bilateral cooperation frameworks, as well as boosting consultations on various regional and international issues.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi meets with world leaders.
وأعبر لكم عن خالص الشكر والتقدير على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة.
Reaffirming Egypt's vision, delivering our voice abroad.
لتطوير التعاون الثنائي الاقتصادي والعسكري إلى مستويات غير مسبوقة.
Discussing regional and international developments. Solid and strong relations on the path of partnership and development.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and on this topic we're glad to be joined over the phone by Ms. Sharihan El-Amash, researcher in political science. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for joining us. Would you please tell me how do you assess the significance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to France, as the president had paid several visits to France since he took office in 2014. How do you assess the significance of this visit and the timing of the visit also?
Well, this visit is very important. It is a very important and a strong stake for the Middle East. So, of course, many from Mr. Fattah had placed before, and many more. But this visit is very important. But personally, he participated in such an important conference for a transitional period for Sudan.
Egypt is always supporting Sudan over history. How do you see the Conference of France in supporting the African countries in the transitional period? And I'm talking here about Sudan, of course.
Well, the relationship between Egypt and Sudan is historically old. Well, historical ties that bring Egypt and Sudan together they are very strong, and we both share the Nile Valley. So it's very old and very strong, and it's not new for Egypt to support Sudan many years. And actually, Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi promised Sudan help for the Sudanese government, all the steps they are taking and working for through the new transitional period for Sudan to have or keep an economic recovery and to have a political.
President Sisi attends the summit on financing the African economies. How do you see the significance of this summit in boosting the economic development in Africa?
Well, let me tell you, normally the economic impact, and due to the Western countries like USA, France, and Germany, they all have economic interest in Africa in general. Especially in Sudan, because it forced a new era for additional peace. So every country or the Western countries want to invest in Sudan to have development lead to the political, as well as Egypt. Egypt is trying to help Sudan to get rid of accumulated debt, especially that. Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he said that he participated also in international initiatives to settle Sudan's debt by using Egypt's share for the International Monetary, which is great. And I believe from the point of view that this will help Sudan to have development leading to political.
Right. Well, France always supports Egypt through different political issues. How do you see the strategic and political stances of the two countries towards regional and international issues?
Well, Egypt and France, they always cooperate, mainly or mostly they have the same situation. Normally, it's the problems in the Middle East. So the cooperation between Egypt and France happened long time ago in many fields like culture, education, construction, tourism, energy, construction, infrastructure. So the ties also between Egypt and especially in the educational field, all the fields that is very strong. So Egypt and France, they are very, very important countries to work together in that field. So I think that it will continue and many more cooperation will happen between both countries.
How would the President's visit help in enhancing and boosting more cooperation in the fields of investment and tourism between both countries?
Well, let me be more in this. As I just told you that economic interest impacts politics. Also, having a strong infrastructure, energy, and a strong communication technology is very important to bring investments or foreign investments in Egypt. So this is what Egypt is trying always to do. And what I see that Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and its government, they are working around the clock with open eyes to do this and have strong infrastructure so they can work with France or all the countries that they can bring foreign investments to Egypt.
Well, President Sisi also met with French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday, and the talks covered the regional and international issues of mutual concern as well as means of boosting bilateral relations. How do you see the significance of this meeting?
Well, this meeting also is very important. Egypt right now is facing many challenges during this period. As we all know, and it's very obvious that Egypt has there are a lot of conflicts in the area influence the national security of Egypt, like Libya, like Gaza, and also the Ethiopian dam. So many conflicts and problems in the area impact and has a big influence on Egypt those days. So this meeting was really important to make sure and to have agreements that can put Egypt in a very strong place that we can work powerfully.
Well, the talks also covered the funding development projects in Africa. How important is this topic?
Well, investing in Africa has a big priority those days, since many countries have promised to invest in many fields like mining, agriculture, communication technology, digital technology, and infrastructure, and also, which is really important, the energy, to have development and which will lead the whole area or the whole continent to have to achieve economic recovery for most of the countries. And from this part, the other or the Western countries, they can invest more in Africa, and in the end, they will have interest. So mainly, this is my point of view, that it's really important for all the Western countries to invest right now in Africa, which will be back for them with great outcomes due to finance and economics.
Right. What are your expectations for the Egyptian-French approaches during the coming period?
Well, I see that there are great operations and great projects, mega projects will happen in the next or the upcoming period. And what I see that the Egyptian diplomacy is working in the right track, and actually in all the directions, which will maintain a strong support and alliance to help in the negotiation for the problem of the Ethiopian dam. As you know, it's one of the biggest points and important issues for the security. So it's very smart from the government those days, and the Egyptian government, and of course Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, whom I want to send my gratitude for help for the government. So it's really, really important to have strong support for Egypt to face all this. And of course, doing all of this, we know that we're facing also the COVID-19 challenge.
Right. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Ms. Sharihan El-Amash, researcher in political science. Many thanks for your insight. And now we move on back to our special reports. During his visit to France, President Sisi will also shed light during the African Economic Summit on various topics of concern to African countries. The Franco-African Summit takes place under the slogan, Financing African Economies. More details.
During his visit to France, President Sisi will also shed light during the African Economies Financing Summit on various topics of concern to the African countries. This particularly relates to the importance of strengthening international efforts to facilitate their integration into global economy in a way that contributes to achieving economic growth. The Franco-African Summit takes place under the slogan Financing African Economies. Their focus is to achieve such growth despite repercussions of novel coronavirus pandemic and facilitate the transfer of technology to African countries. Presidential spokesman Bassem Rodi said that El-Sisi's visit to France includes a summit with his French counterpart to discuss issues of bilateral relations. This is in addition to continuing consultations and mutual coordination on a number of relevant regional and international files. On the sidelines of the visit, the President will meet with a number of heads of state and government officials. During the meetings, discussions will take place on advancing the frameworks for bilateral cooperation and consultations on various regional and international issues. Egypt's ambassador to France, Alaa Youssef, affirmed Egypt and France's identical views regarding issues of development, economic recovery, and support for stability and security in the African continent, especially the Libyan crisis. He noted that the leadership of the two countries are keen to continue coordination and consultation on various regional issues. In a statement to reporters, Youssef said that the two countries have a shared vision towards the Libyan crisis that focuses on the need to restore security and stability. It includes the exit of foreign forces from the country and holding elections to preserve its sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. Youssef also pointed out that the French side is keen to support Egypt's efforts in the health and medical fields, especially through cooperation in efforts to confront novel coronavirus pandemic.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi meets with world leaders.